Before starting Haikyuu, most casual anime fans have this question in their minds whether they should start Haikyuu or not because there's hardly any people that take interest in volleyball and whether Haikyuu is boring or not. As someone who watched Haikyuu and loved it, I admit that I thought it was boring after the first episode. It just seemed so stereotypical. Main character is special, meets rival who's just a ball of pure talent, but I continued watching and understood why everyone loved it so much. As someone who has never even remotely been interested in volleyball, this anime was really good for me and even came in my top 10 most fun anime list. If you are like me and you are wondering how the heck an anime about volleyball above all things became so widely popular and unbearably entertaining, you came to the right place, because in this video we will be discussing the things that make Haikyuu one of the top shonen of the new era. I would say compared to your average shonen anime, Haikyuu does most things pretty well that a decent shonen need, like having an appealing art style or having adequate pacing. What really sets the story apart from your average shonen anime are three things in which Haikyuu easily surpasses much of its competition, which also allowed it to successfully run in Shonen Jump magazine for over 8 years. These three things are the spot-on use of a completely polarizing protagonist duo, its perfectly crafted story structure, and finally the immense amount of realism and research that Haruichi has put into his work to make the story feel as incredibly convincing and intriguing as it is. First of all, before we get into two protagonists, I want to mention that I believe Haikyuu has a very strong character setup in general. Over the course of the story, we increasingly meet new teams with new characters and philosophies, and somehow most, if not all of them, are immensely well-developed characters and easy to connect with. That being said, let's move on to our heroes. The main characters in Haikyuu are the small but hardworking Hinata Shoyo, as well as talented but socially awkward Kageyama Tobio. Frankly speaking, the story focuses more on Hinata as he follows the road of typical shonen hero. However, Kageyama comes very close in importance and enjoys a similar amount of screen time. What makes this quite unlikely duo such a fantastic premise for the story, however, is exactly that. They are the exact opposite of each other. Hinata is incredibly charismatic and easily forms relationships with teammates and opponents alike. His biggest weakness are his lack in height as well as his inexperience that he has to overcome through hard work and training. Kageyama, on the other hand, has been blessed with immense talent and instinct for the sport and is one of the most promising young players in the country. However, he lacks basic social skills that isolate him from his teammates. As a result, Hinata and Kageyama have completely opposing character arcs, where one has to become better and stronger on the court while the other has to become a better person and learn how to form real friendships. Two very popular themes of shonen that Haruichi splits into two characters here. What both have in common, however, is their strong will to fight and hard work in order to grow. So in essence, Haikyuu is about these two ambitious young men with opposing strengths and weaknesses that strive to become the best volleyball players, one striving to become stronger and one to become a better person. The lesson here is that one can't be successful without the other. This makes both of them immensely easy to identify with and makes us want to see both of them succeed. Now the next thing we have to talk about is Haikyuu's crazily perfected story structure. One of the most important criteria for a great shonen story, at least according to Hirohiko Araki, the author of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, is that the protagonists are always rising and rising again. But the reason why an always rising arc is so important is that we always want to see the character keep progressing further, even if he has his setbacks and low points. The overall development always points upwards towards being a bit better than the last chapter. As you might have guessed, Haikyuu has brought this always rising structure to an absolute perfection. The story starts with Hinata being the only person on his volleyball team during middle school, not even having the chance to have proper practice but having to force his friends to toss him balls. From there, the story progresses from finally joining Karasuno High, the former school of his idol, over playing at the Inter High, then the Spring High, all the way to the Tokyo Nationals. Despite having to face progressively harder challenges along the way, our heroes prevail in the end and keep fighting and growing. This gives the entire series a sense of continuous positive motion that we all want to be part of. The reason that not more anime can pull off the tactic of the always rising arc by using tournaments is what do you do once the tournament is over, and how do you come up with increasingly stronger and stronger opponents for the heroes without becoming too repetitive. Haikyuu solves these two quite common problems by ending the series once a true high point has been reached, and more importantly maybe is that Haruichi lets his antagonists arcs grow as well and have them be a natural part of the journey. Rival teams like Nekoma or Aobajose grow alongside the Karasuna team, and additionally we might have opponents that might not be as strong as Karasuna but have unique tactics or a unique setup with which they can pose a true threat to Hinata and Kageyama. Everything in the story's development feels organic, and that already brings me to my final point: setting. So what's so super exciting about the setting in Haikyu? We have Japanese high schools with teams that play volleyball in tournaments. No crazy magical powers, no furies, no nothing. Well, let me tell you that it's actually exactly the seamlessness of Haikyu world that makes it so good to watch. The level of realism and naturalness that Haruichi creates is what fully immerses the reader, and that's what sparks this level of passion for the sport. He has without any doubt sunk hours and hours into research about his story, from the basic rules and techniques of the game over the structure of Japanese high school volleyball all the way to the history and organization of clubs themselves. This includes pretty mundane stuff you probably never thought about, like how many referees are there at each tournament, or how do the uniforms have to look, or how does the sports club actually finance itself. All these things are just there and make it easy for you to lose yourself in the story. But if these things hadn't been thought about properly, the plot would surely have been very different. Can you imagine watching a sports anime where the techniques aren't correct? You'll always know something is kinda off, and especially so if you actually like the sport itself. So I guess my point here is, for amazing anime, the devil truly lies in the detail, and Haikyu does a pretty good job at it. So good even that professional player Kim Young-kun praised the accuracy of the anime in a review of her personal YouTube channel, noticing that the creator of the series must be a person with a high level of volleyball knowledge. So if a pro is able to enjoy this show to its fullest, it's no real surprise that we can as well. So to recap, what makes Haikyu stand out among so many other shonen anime today: it has an incredibly intriguing and fun protagonist duo, it has a constantly rising story structure in which we see Hinata, Kageyama and Karasuna, and really almost everyone else in this show work incredibly hard to become better players and better people, which is just entertaining to watch. And finally, the story world is researched and created in so much detail and with so much dedication that it's really hard not to become involved in it. These well executed things are what makes Haikyu a true top shonen of the new era. So that's it for today. Let me know what you think about Haikyu below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leave me a thumbs up and make sure to hit that subscribe button. I hope to see you around next time, and until then, goodbye.